So it's 1904, the World's Fair is going on in St. Louis, Missouri, because nothing screams international unity like corn dogs and cotton exhibits. And as a fun little bonus, the city is also hosting the Olympics. Now keep in mind, the modern Olympics were still kind of a weird new thing. The first one was in 1896. The second was in Paris and sucked so badly that most of the events were held over 5 months with nobody knowing what counted as Olympic and what was just French. So Street Louis was like, let's do it better. And then they absolutely didn't. Enter the 1904 Olympic Marathon, the most cursed, dusty, poison-fueled fever dream of a sporting event ever run. This race had heat stroke, hallucinations, wild dogs, near-death experiences, cheating, and a man who ran in street shoes and took a nap in the middle of the race. This isn't a joke, this is the actual story. So let's paint the picture. It's August, it's 90 plus degrees Fahrenheit, there's no cloud cover, the sun is out like it's actively trying to murder people, and the marathon starts at 3 in the afternoon, because apparently they wanted to make sure no one survived. The course was 24.85 miles long, not even a full 26.2 marathon. Just some random chunk of miles cobbled together along dirt roads that twisted through dusty Missouri countryside. It wasn't paved, it wasn't closed to traffic. Cars and bikes and horses were just there, kicking up clouds of dust directly into runners' faces. And there were hills, like massive, sharp elevation hills that absolutely should have disqualified this thing as a marathon course. You weren't so much running as you were mountaineering with bonus lung damage. Also, there was exactly one water station, that's it, one, at mile 11. In 90-degree weather, with hills and dirt in your mouth. Why? Well, you can thank James E. Sullivan, one of the race organizers and a man whose hobbies apparently included amateur torture. He wanted to test what he called purposeful dehydration, his actual words. He was using the race as a science experiment to see what happened when athletes got pushed to their physical limits without water. Spoiler, they almost died a lot. Now let's meet the runners. First up, Fred Lors. American, bricklayer by trade, and not exactly what you'd call a trained marathoner. He'd been banned before for cutting corners, so naturally they let him compete anyway. He's got energy, he's got nerve, and in a few miles he's gonna have a car. Then there's Thomas Hicks, another American, and the eventual quote-unquote winner. He's got a support crew with him, and they're going to feed him literal poison during the race, like actual strychnine, the rat poison. But hey, early 1900s sports science said it was fine in small doses so long as you mixed it with raw egg whites and brandy. What could possibly go wrong? Next up, Felix Carvajal, a Cuban mailman who, this is true, showed up to the race in a beret, a long-sleeved shirt, long pants, and street shoes, not running shoes, just like whatever he had on when he arrived. Also true, he had to hitchhike to the race, he lost all his money in a dice game in New Orleans, starved for a few days, and still made it to the starting line. Felix is not just a guy with bad luck, he is bad luck wearing a beret and hoping for the best. There's also two runners from South Africa, Len Tanyane and John Mashiani. They are the first black Africans to ever compete in the Olympics. They also ran the entire race barefoot, which seems like a huge disadvantage, but one of them still placed top 10, even though at one point he was chased off the course by a dog for over a mile. I'm not kidding. That happened. There are actual eyewitness reports of this man sprinting through the countryside trying to lose a dog in the bushes. This is the Olympic Games. Oh, and let's not forget the random field of mid-level American runners and international dudes who all probably thought this would be a normal event. Bless their optimism. They had no idea. So the race begins, horn goes off, it's a cloud of dust and regret from the first step. Very quickly, runners start coughing. The lead cars are kicking up clouds of dirt, clogging lungs and stinging eyes. Spectators are cheering, but a lot of the runners can't even see where they're going. It's just dust, heat, and suffering. Fred Lors, our bricklayer buddy, pulls a hamstring by mile 9, says screw this, and hops in a car that's driving back toward the stadium. Just casually climbs in like he's done for the day. But here's where it gets dumb. His car breaks down near the finish line, and instead of just calling it a day, Fred hops out of the car and jogs across the finish line, waving to the crowd, acting like he just won the whole thing. People go nuts, applause, cheering, medals being prepped. Even the daughter of the US president is getting ready to congratulate him. And then someone snitches. A race official walks up and goes, "Hey, that guy literally took a car, we saw it." And the crowd just turns on him like he's been voted off a reality show, booed off the track. Absolutely humiliated. He later claims it was a prank. He was just joking and thought it would be funny. And the Olympics were like, yo, you're banned for life. And then a year later, they were like, yeah, you can come back. Because the early Olympics were just vibes, no rules, no consistency, just chaos. Meanwhile, Thomas Hicks is dying. His team is feeding him spoonfuls of strychnine mixed with raw eggs. He's stumbling. He's barely upright. They give him brandy, then another dose of poison, then more eggs. By mile 20, he's hallucinating. He believes he's still 20 miles from the finish. He begs to lie down. They tell him no. So he keeps running, more like staggering, and eventually his trainers start holding him up by the armpits and carrying him while his feet scrape the ground. This would disqualify you in literally any modern sport. But in 1904, it was apparently just called supportive coaching. And somehow, he finishes first, not fast, not conscious, barely human, but he crosses the finish line and collapses. Officials rush in. He's too far gone to even take water. They rub his legs down with warm water and try to keep him awake. He later says it was the worst experience of his life and that he would never run again. Which, fair. He did survive, but only barely. Now let's check back in on Felix, our Cuban hero. Midway through the race, Felix gets hungry. Naturally. He hasn't eaten in over a day, so he sees an apple orchard, veers off the course, and steals a couple apples. Pro move. Unfortunately, they were rotten. He gets massive stomach cramps and decides to lie down and nap it off. He takes a nap in the middle of the Olympic marathon. And here's the best part, he still finishes fourth. This man gambled away his travel money, starved for days, ran in street shoes, ate rotten apples, took a nap, and still beat most of the field. Legend. As for the South African runner who got chased by a dog, he placed 9th, while barefoot and probably traumatized. In total, only 14 of the 32 runners finished the race. Multiple athletes collapsed from heat and dehydration. One almost died of internal bleeding. One suffered permanent lung damage from breathing in dust and exhaust, and Thomas Hicks, the zombie king, had to be physically revived after the race before he could even accept his medal. If he'd been given one more dose of strychnine, he probably would have died right there on the podium. But hey, America won, so it was fine, right? The 1904 marathon was so insane that even the Olympic Committee was like, let's never do that again, and they didn't. Water became standard, cars were banned, and strychnine stopped being a sports drink. So next time someone talks about the Olympics being the pinnacle of human athletic achievement, just remember, there was once a race where the winner was hallucinating from rat poison, the runner-up hitched a ride in a car, and the guy in fourth took a nap. This actually happened, and it might just be the dumbest, most chaotic athletic event in history.